What's going on, guys? Jesse504 here, bringing you guys another episode of Community Review. This week, we are going over part 2 of the favorite Draft League Pokemon and why that we did last episode. Before I get into it, the last episode did great. Thank you guys so much. If you guys want to keep seeing these community reviews, because I like making them, please do be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It really means a lot to me when I see that, even though it might just be like a simple click or a couple words for you, it means a lot to me. So please do that. Thank you. But last time we went over some big Draft League stars like Mew, we saw some Mega Lopunny, but yeah, this time I'm just going to scroll through, respond to the ones that I haven't responded to yet. As always, please be checking out part 1 if you have not yet. And first tweet of the day is Matt saying Vikavolt. Not favorite, but needs more shine. I see Matt drafting Vikavolt a lot. Key immunities, resist support options in webs and recovery and roost. Yeah, speed tier is huge positive for slow volt. Yeah, I like it. It also just hits like really hard. It has like 145 or something special attack, which you wouldn't think about. I know a lot of people early on, like early Vikavolt, people were thinking, oh, I'm just gonna like agility and sweep, but it doesn't really work out like that, unfortunately. However, it does work out as like a very strong offensive piece. So yeah, I'm a fan of Vikavolt here. Also, the web's up, you can sash lead it, or you can play it more bulky with boots, like Matt is sort of suggesting here. And then, I believe the next one to say is Trexo saying Hydreigon does so many things so well and is an excellent breaker. Hydreigon, I think, is like one of the best round 2, round 3 mons in draft. Usually you see it going round 2 in a lot of places. I think it's great just like as a dragon. Obviously you do have to be worried about the fairy type, but unless their fairy is like really bulky, it's dying like Flash Cannon. Unless their steel is really bulky, it's dying a Flamethrower or a Fire Blast. Hydreigon has such good coverage. It has like so many types of move. I think there's like 15 or 16 different types that it can click, and especially now that it can run physical largely unpunished with like DD and yeah, or Nasty Plot now too, and then like Sub Roost is also really good. Yeah, Hydra is a great mon, and like it really just pairs well with a lot of the top mons in draft. And then Kelly saying Regieleki and Regidrago or anything hard countered by one type. Cheap mons that force type to come and are so much fun. The issue that I have with these mons, because on paper it seems great, like oh my god, these mons force so much prep. They force them to bring a ground type, and they force them to bring a fairy type. Everyone, if they're good, everyone, if they're good, drafts a good ground, drafts a good fairy. And they don't even need to be a good fairy to check them, or a good ground to check them. It doesn't be anything, just like by virtue of being a ground type, by virtue of being a fairy type, checks these mons. Which is, I guess, just the issue that I have with them. I think they're utter garbage, but if you like them, power to you. Especially now that they're going for pretty cheap. Shadow of Rose Raid says, Mega Bro. This mon just like takes hits that it just shouldn't. You know, it walls Weavile, and Weavile's clicking knockoff, super effective. It walls Weavile. It just stops every physical mon. And before you really needed to do much, you can TR teleport out. Not even TR, but you can teleport out, stay regen as a regular bro. And you can also, what else is there to do with this mon? It's a great win con because of that shell armor can't be crit if you like a dual dance Iron Defense Calm Mind set. Usually it'll just close out the game. And then Jacob says Volbeat. I know that there are some good Volbeat stands in the community. It's a great mon. Kind of a little worse than Illumise, but still really cool. Let's see what they... Yeah, that's a screenshot. I don't think you guys can see, but it's doing 92 to a stack attacker, which is funny. Fighting Gem obviously isn't in the game, but it's still a funny screenshot to see. And then Tom over here says Silvally, Nihi, and Sizz and Megasis. Yeah, I really like Silvally. Usually it's relatively cheap, and it can run any type, 120 base power stab, no drawbacks. It's so good. And then obviously like there's no like potential upside, but it's like no drawback. It's great like SD flame charge sets with that stab of your choice is usually enough to close out most games. Can kind of patch in any holes on a draft. Ideally, you don't want like Silvally to be pigeonholed, like, oh, this is my fairy type, oh, this is my steel type, because it's kind of ass. When you have to do that, it doesn't compete well, because like it doesn't have recovery, but it's got access to Parting Shot. Nihi, another Nihi stand. We had some Nihi love in the last video too. Go check that out for my thoughts. And then Sizz and Mega Sizz, also great mons. I like them. They just don't die, especially Mega Sizz. If you're not clicking a fire move on it, it's not dying. And usually that fire move has to be stab. Shay, with a bit of a controversial one, saying G-Darm. So much fun to build with and usually lasts till round 2 in the draft so you can stack a team. Yeah, it's really, really strong. I don't know about so much fun to build with. Usually you're just Scarf, and then maybe there's 1 week where you're like, hey, Belly Drum wins, let me bring it. But I like G-Darm still. I often find myself having a tough G-Darm matchup. I'm like, hey, my water doesn't check G-Darm that well. And I'm like, ah, shit. Well, hope I can outplay. Try to get rocks up, limit it, but it just kicks U-turn and gets so much momentum. You really need a good way to punish G-Darm. So it's like, I get that it gets a lot of hate, but it's still cool. So versatile, rewards a good builder. That's a funny one. Just talked about. My man Zamiko says, for D-Max format, Selly and Metagross for non-D-Max Feeny and P2. I'm assuming this is VGC. This looks like VGC, and I am a VGC expert. Just kidding, but I do pretty well in VGC draft. Selly, you can't go wrong with the floating tower. Yeah, no, this is just such a good mon. I kind of slept on it, and then PWS this season rolls around, and it went super early. We wanted to get Selly. Airstream is broken. Steel Spike is broken. It has great coverage, and it's fat enough to just do anything. And it can actually beast boost any of its stats. Obviously, it's not an ideal Selly set when you're boosting speed, but it can do it. And then there's Metagross. Metagross, I love. This mon is so good. It gets carried, and there's so many good enablers in and out of Trick Room. Bulldoze Clear Body means that you just proc your weakness policy for virtually nothing. Spectre is a great partner for Metagross, and when it demaxes, it's so good because you get Quake and you get Steel Spike is just not gonna die. Great coverage. I am a Metagross stan. And then for non-Dmax, Feeny and P2, I'm sorry to say, I don't like Feeny and VGC. I feel like it's kind of overrated, especially in draft. It's still good, but usually you see it around the 18-17 point range, and I just can't find myself paying for it. And then P2, I'm a fan. It hits surprisingly hard, and it's like really, really consistent Trick Room, other than Taunt. Taunt's like the one issue for it. And then Lucas over here says Mega Gallade, which is cool. Yeah, Mega Gallade is one of the best mons in draft. So offensive. You like wonder why it doesn't do so hot on ladder, and that's because it doesn't get coverage, perfect coverage for whatever it wants to hit. On ladder, often has to make a compromise. In draft, it has the best sets to just dismantle a team, and it often does it really, really well. SD plus sweep or like bulk up and drain punch, it's great. And just clicking buttons. Honorable mentions for Lucas are Goodra, Normal Stoice, Mega Venu, and Kaparaja. Goodra is pretty cool. A great spit off wall can kind of just chew most hits, force even like some special attackers to run like a mixed attacker, like or something like that. Normal Stoice is pretty excellent, honestly. Good spinner in older gens now with the smash. It's also really good. Mega Venu, another mon that just doesn't die. And Kaparaja. I'm not a big fan of Kaparaja. I'm sorry. Fran says Zapdos. Zapdos is great. I love the fact that it's not Hurricane reliant as well. Just like not having to hit your Hurricanes like as much as Torn T, I feel like is a good spot for that mon. And then with Boots, it's my favorite monster draft of all time. I can see that. I can understand it. I often find myself, I'm like, hey, my Zapdos matchup doesn't look very good. You need a really bulky electric, and then like you need to kind of punish it. Incog says Trevenant. Trevenant's an interesting one. I feel like I usually don't see it, but it can be pretty nasty. I know there was a time where people would draft with like Starfberry Harvest, and you would just like try to go crazy with that, but I'm not a fan. It does hit really hard though, and if you can make it work, more power to you. Seth says Buzzwole, when it gets rolling, you better have a game plan to stop it early. I think it's like beast boosting, Scarf, or even just like bulky. It's a great Fizz Def wall. Be wary of those special moves and those flying moves though, but other than that, it's good. Evire, that's a cool one. nasty and can run Scarf or Bandit however you want. I am a fan of Evire offensively. Usually there's a pretty good matchup if you can fit it. Sometimes you just can't, but if you can, it's usually pretty good. Dracovish, if your league allows it, grab it when you can, let the mind games begin. Usually Dracovish is allowed, and it's really good, especially against people who don't know how to play around it. And then G-Darm, C Dracovish. That's fair. D-Ray saying Silvally, we already went over that. Hayes says Torrentee, which is maybe my favorite mon to draft, especially after this SBU season. I think that it is so cool as a mon, just like constant pivot. I'm trying to get some shorts going out, and I think the first one that I'm going to do is on Torrentee, but yeah, I'm a fan of Torrentee. Good on you, Hayes. I think we share the same favorite. It does everything well with regen and stuff. Brian says Braviary and Volcarona. Braviary was top 4 in kills. My first ever draft league in Volcarona. I picked the next season and draft league as a trade and went out to be my killer dude. Those are both cool. Braviary, I don't see it drafted that often, but it is pretty solid. And Volk can just win games, especially with boots now. Big fan. Rager Bonsai says Jirachi. Jirachi provides an out in almost every game, which is funny. For VGC, I really love Sableye because it's crazy versatile support. I'm a fan of Sableye. Taunt kind of shuts it down, but it's a dark type, so it can't be Prankster taunted, which is good. Prankster of its own is good with Fake Out. You can kind of support mons really, really well. So it's probably one of the better support mons, I'd say, in VGC. Nashoba says Como-O and Mega Pinsir. I think I went over Como-O maybe in my last video, just like as a good versatile offensive mon, and Mega Pinsir, which are underrated. Pinsir is tough, especially with like a lot of mons wanting to run boots, but with the rapid spin buff, it's easier than ever to spin for it, so I like it. And then Chandelure is great, yeah. It's so powerful, just hits really hard. Jeffrey says Corvy's good, yeah. It kind of just acts as a really, really good stopgap to a lot of things. I'm going quickly with these, sorry, I just want to get through every single one in a reasonably lengthy video. Midnight Wolf says Porygon 2. I went over it in VGC, but in singles, just like great to Trick Room Teleport, take a lot of hits, recover up. I'm a fan of P2. Mid, we ended off on last video. Aaron12 says Mega Sceptile, another 100 kill mon, which is cool. Got 100 plus kills with it. Yeah, it hits surprisingly hard. I mean, like, I obviously think of Radical Red Mega Sceptile because I'm a fan of that game, but it is usually really cheap for what it is. Like 145 base speed with SD or DD. I'm a fan. Alphon says Gliscor. I'm a Gliscor supporter, better than Landorus for sure. Toxic Heal just doesn't die. Just don't get knocked first, and then you can end up killing a lot of mons. But FSD wins a lot of games, which is fun. And then these two look like they pair well together. Garchomp and Megachomp, which are pretty good. Great mons, in all honesty. Garchomp is another contender for one of potentially the best mons in the format right now. So I can definitely understand the Garchomp love. And then Megachomp as well, especially with Scale Shot now. These two mons shot up recently, more so Megachomp going up a lot. But yeah, they're great mons, get rocks up, physical or special even, and they can just end up putting in a lot of work. Next up, King L5 saying Turtonator because it can 1v1 any mon in the Draft League format. If you guys don't know the Turtonator game, you guys have missed out. L5 basically just beats every single person with Turtonator. It's kind of contingent on, you have to know, he knows exactly what you're clicking, and he can't get hacked, but other than that, like, yeah, Turtonator can 1v1 every mon. It's really, really cool. Rova says Serena, low tier grass, haven't tried it yet in Gen 8, but speed buffing, Axel, heavy duty boots, high tier, Aegislash. Aegislash is a great mon. Serena, I'm not a fan of. I feel like it has 4 moveset syndrome most games and still dies to a lot of ground hits, but it's like a decent AV mon. Yeah, and Aegislash is obviously a great mon. It's hard to use, but when you can use it well, it's great. Aquarius says Mew, check mid. Venusaur and Kyurem, Greedent also in the common green is not very good, but if you can make it work again, more power to you. Kyurem I want to talk about though, because this mon is sneaky good. Pressure with just like Sub Roost can stall out a lot of mons, and then also DD up now, and it has such good coverage for everything. Nothing really wants to switch into a Kyurem, especially now there's like Freeze Dry. And then Venusaur in the sun is really, really hard to switch into as well. Raikou. Raiku's another divisive one, but it's still really, really good. Clicking T-Bolt with it, doing a lot with that. I've seen it do good, and I understand the love. A lot of great sets. I don't know about how many great sets, but like Sub-Toxic, Sub-Calm Mind, just like 4 attacks, Life Orb or offensive up boosting item is also really cool. And yeah, I can understand Raikou love. Subway Blitz says the surprise fairy Trick Room Sweeper and surprisingly decent for speed control. Aromatisse. I liked it in SBU. I had it and it stalled out a couple mons. It's really good with like, it's a great wish passer, honestly. Yeah, I'm a fan of Aromatisse despite sometimes feeling like I hate it. But no, it's a cool mon if you get it to work. I don't think it's the best fairy by any means, but it usually chews. PTO says Hitmonlee. Where else can you see Curse to drop speed be the fastest mon? Yeah, that's fair with the white herb and then your killing mons. Yeah, Hitmonlee is a cool unburdened mon. I feel like it's not one that you see a lot because of Hawlucha, but it still has its niche. Especially because it's like in the 8-9 point range usually, and it also can spin. So Hitmonlee is pretty cool. Galateite says Megazard Y, extremely good breaker that punishes the lack of rocks and in general boots exist. Yeah, people have been not drafting as many rocks, and like I said with Mega Pinsir, it's much easier to spin for now. And TTM, I believe Styx says Coco, enough said, which is, yeah, Coco was great, especially in Gen 7 when I know these guys were the most active. But Aki says enough said, overrated as fuck. Yeah, some people overrate Coco, but then like it's like you look at LDI, for example, 72 Cocos or something like that out of 108 teams, or yeah, it was like on the majority of teams. Yeah, Coco is a strong mon, and I don't think there's any denying it, especially in Gen 7, but even in Gen 8, it's still really good. Wow, we have a lot of these. I am sorry, I thought I could get through all of these. I just can't in a good duration. We will pick off maybe with a part 3 in the future. Thank you guys for watching, and thanks for all the support on this. With all that being said, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and comment if you are still with me. And yeah, until next time, Jesse504 out. Peace.